So the topic of today's office hours is going to be all about building up your email list. And one of the motivations for me actually giving this lecture was because I've been critiquing some of my students' site kind of offline, not taped on video, and I've noticed that a whole bunch of these students haven't been focusing on the list at all. And so I thought, I've given lectures already about email marketing in the past, but sometimes it takes an example for these things to sink in and for you to kind of understand the overall strategy, why it's so important to obtain a customer's email. So, like I said, a lot of students have been putting up pretty good looking online stores, and a small subset of these students have actually been putting up pretty decent blogs as well. But when I've asked, very few of you are actually gathering email addresses for your shop. And so, one of the things that you need to do is whenever a customer completes a purchase in your shop, you should add them to the email list if they opt into your newsletter. And whenever a customer lands on any sort of content on your site, you should somehow get them to try to join your list. Okay, and so, for joining lists and managing emails and that sort of thing for online stores, I recommend a service called MailChimp. And what's really nice about MailChimp is that it's free for up to 2,000 users. And when your store is small, 2,000 subscribers is actually quite a bit. It might take you a little bit to actually exceed that amount. And in the meantime, the service will be completely free. Okay, and so what's also nice, and the reason why I recommend MailChimp as opposed to Aweber or some of the other email providers that I actually review on my blog, MailChimp is nice because they've already taken the time to integrate themselves into a lot of the e-commerce platforms. So OpenCart has a MailChimp plugin. Shopify already has built-in MailChimp support. BigCommerce has support, and PrestaShop has an add-on as well that allows you to kind of manage the list directly from the admin panel of your online store, which is very nice. Okay, and so by using MailChimp to store your emails and send them, you can actually blast whatever you want to your subscribers whenever you want. And the reason to use one of these email providers is because they have multiple servers that will send out the emails to your subscribers so that the delivery rate is actually very close to 100%. So for example, if you were to try to do this on your own, blast out to thousands of subscribers using your own server, very few of these emails would make it through because eventually your server might get marked as spam. Okay? So, these providers, they have multiple servers and they constantly rotate their IP addresses for the maximum delivery rate possible. Okay, and so back to the topic of building your list. In a lot of prior lectures, I've really stressed the importance of having a blog and having content for your online store. I've stressed the importance of trying to become an authority within your niche so that you stand out, so that customers will be willing to actually buy from you. Okay, but what is the point? So a lot of you have actually started blogs, created content, and that sort of thing. The point of all of this is to actually create content that will attract customers and subsequently search traffic to your site, which you can then kind of funnel on over to the products in your store. Okay, and so I've gotten a lot of questions about what topics should I write about and that sort of thing. As long as it's related to your niche, you don't have to constantly write about your products because that will get limiting really quick. And as long as you start writing about stuff that's within your niche, that content is generally going to be good enough. So what's the best way to do this? What I do actually is I use Market Samurai to kind of locate good keywords, for topics that you can write about, and then you just go ahead and write some content that you think a customer would actually want to read. And for a lot of you, this has been really hard. I've gotten a lot of questions about what I should write about, since if I'm in one of these boring niches like home security or something kind of technical or something kind of plain and dull and generally boring, how do I come up with good content that people actually want to read? So you can come up with in-depth product tutorials on how to use your products. You can come up with buyer's guides. You can write about industry news and just kind of give your opinion in that particular niche that you're selling into. As long as it's interesting, people will read it and stay on your site. And in my opinion, the most interesting pieces of content are actually the ones that are a little bit more personal in nature. It's okay to pretend that it's okay to show that you're small. You don't have to pretend that you're big or anything. If you keep it personal, people will become drawn to your personality. And once they're drawn to the personality of your store, then making a sale is that much easier. Okay, and so, once you've created the content, which is, often the hard part, and getting them to your site, once they're on your site, you need to obtain their email address in some way. Okay, and so this is where my opinion often diverges from a lot of people who blog and a lot of people who might, start e-commerce stores. Some people think that putting a lot of sign-up forms on a page is kind of tacky. Some people are against pop-up forms, but the fact is, you can't really get an email address unless you have a sign-up form. And in general, the more sign-up forms, the better. Okay, and the more sign-up forms that you kind of spread around your content, the higher the chance of you actually getting an email address. So pop-ups, sign-up forms above the content, below the content, have some sort of slider that slides in from the right-hand side as soon as they've read a certain amount of the content. Take advantage of any chance you have of gathering an email. Okay, and so I'm going to now, kind of switch gears a little bit and show you what we've done with our store in the past year to facilitate the gathering of emails. So what happened last year? Last year, we were able to put our store on autopilot in terms of the fulfillment end. So I finally convinced my wife to start putting out content on a regular basis. And incidentally, this was coupled with the timing where Google has been making a whole lot of search engine changes, and the search engine rankings have been fluctuating like crazy because there's been so much change recently. And that kind of gave me the kick in the butt in such a way that I didn't want my store to depend on Google traffic in order to make money. And so, we put together this plan to gather emails. And, once you have an email, that email address is yours and you can communicate with your customer however you want. And in a way, it kind of makes your store a little bit more Google proof. Okay, and so now that my wife is putting out consistent content, we have been regularly blasting out emails to our customers. And what's really nice about putting out interesting content is that it provides an excuse for you to send out an email to your list without actually having to blast a coupon or a promotion. I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually signed up to a lot of e-commerce store mailing lists just to see how stores do it. And oftentimes I'm just constantly bombarded by coupons, sales, and that sort of thing, to the point where I won't even actually shop in their store anymore unless I have a coupon. And at least in my mind, every store and every shop owner has a different strategy. But at least in my mind, I strongly dislike using sales, constant sales, as an incentive to get customers back to our site. So we actually rarely put out coupons or sale promotions. We do occasionally do it from time to time. But the way we've been bringing people back has been through our content. Okay, and so I thought I'd just switch gears now and just show you how we have things set up on our site. Okay, so if you haven't been here already, this is our online store blog. Okay, so I just want to point out a couple of things here. So on the right, we have a sign-up form that's very prominent, and we've actually created a giveaway as an incentive to sign up for our list. Okay, and so right now our giveaway is my wife kind of put together some of the content we've already had written on our site, put it together as an ebook, and so as an incentive to join our newsletter, you sign up and then you receive this free ebook, and inside this ebook is a bunch of crafts that are using our products. And so not only is this good because it's a piece of content that customers want, but it's content that uses our products, so in case our customers are interested in any of the crafts in that book, they'll actually come to our site to purchase the products, the materials for these crafts. And what's been really nice about having this ebook also is that it's well branded, and people have actually been sharing it around without signing up as well, which kind of further strengthens our brand. It's really hard to measure this, of course, but I've actually noticed customers have emailed saying that they've really loved this book and that they've spread it around to their friends. They've actually asked for permission whether they could send it out, and absolutely, they can send this book out and share it as much as they like because it kind of spreads our brand. Okay, so I also want to show you a couple things. So this is one of our old craft pages, and so we have a pop-up form also. So within X number of seconds of landing on the site, there's a pop-up form, prevents them from scrolling, and then gives them the offer to download our craft ebook. And incidentally, this form is actually the highest converting form on any of our content pages. Okay, so we have the pop-up form. We have a form on top of the content, a very small, unobtrusive one. And then at the end of the content, we have another form as well. Okay, and similarly on all of our main blog posts, we have the pop-up, we have the sidebar, and also at the bottom, we have a sign-up form as well. So at least for our blog, the order of conversions is the pop-up converts the most because a customer always sees that, followed by the sidebar sign-up, and then followed by the form at the bottom of our site. Okay, so it really helps to have some sort of giveaway. If you can put it together, an ebook, a free mini course, anything to entice them to sign up. Okay, and so once you have people, once you have content that's ranking in Google, you should be able to grab a steady stream of subscribers. Okay? And then once you have this list, you can then start blasting an email to them to kind of remind them that your store exists. And oftentimes, getting a customer to come back to your site isn't necessarily about blasting a sale or a promotion. Oftentimes, it's just a little kick, whether it be content or whatever, that kind of reminds them that you're a store that they've shopped at in the past and that you carry products that they once bought. And oftentimes that's enough of a trigger to have them come back to your site and look for more. So we periodically send out craft tutorials that can be made with our products. And when we structure our email, we talk about this piece of content at the top of the email, and at the bottom we have links to all of our product categories. Okay? Whenever we give out one of these email blasts, a high percentage of the list then actually goes on to make a purchase from our online store. Okay, and what's really funny is whenever we send out an email blast also, we find that we get a huge influx of new subscribers, which kind of indicates to me that people are actually sharing our content and telling their friends about it. So they're getting their friends to sign up as well. Okay, and so I thought I'd just sum up today's lecture by just emphasizing that by creating an email list, you're kind of creating a snowball effect with your online store. So you're getting subscribers, which are visits that are coming to your shop, and you're drawing them back into your store while simultaneously gathering new subscribers to your store. And so if you can picture it this way, it's like creating a little mini snowball. Okay, so you're grabbing subscribers and then you're keeping that subscriber list, and then all the while you're gaining new customers by making sales and by attracting search customers to your content, and then just constantly grabbing new customers for your online store. And that way, gradually over time, it might start out really slow, but over time, you're gradually increasing your readership and the amount of customers for your online store. Okay, and so that's pretty much all I had for today. I'll go ahead and answer questions now. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat these questions. Okay, so what is the best way to add the sign-up pop-up forms to OpenCart? Okay, and so in general, with OpenCart, you're probably going to want to use another platform to host your blog, which I recommend WordPress. And once you're on WordPress, there's a whole bunch of plugins that allow you to easily add a sign-up form to your site. So there's a plugin I think called Opt-in Monster that I recommend. And there's another plugin that one of my other buddies uses to put the pop-up on their form. Don't worry, I'll put this all in the notes at the end of this video so you know what to do. And so in terms of just OpenCart, chances are you're not going to be hosting that much content on OpenCart, on your online store as is. So chances are you're probably not going to need to do that. But you will want to get the MailChimp plugin, which allows you to gather email addresses from people that sign up for your newsletter after making a purchase. Okay, and so second question is, how do you add links to product categories in MailChimp? So MailChimp has this nice interface which will allow you to draft an email. And really, it's just a matter of just structuring your email, and then you only have to do this once really, but you can just put little photos of your product categories with a link underneath. I can send you an example email from my list if you want, so you can just kind of use that as a template. Another question was, good stuff. Do you only put the pop-up to opt-in on the blog? Is that correct? In general, you should put the pop-up to opt in on any sort of interesting content that you have on your site. In general, you don't want to do that with your online store because you don't want to interfere with the shopping process. Okay, and then Jerry just pointed out that there's tons of MailChimp tutorials on YouTube. Personally, I've found it very simple to use. MailChimp is actually a lot easier to use than some of the other email providers. It's very intuitive, and there's actually a wizard once you sign up. Okay, so, are you able to incorporate a WordPress blog into a subfolder of the store? Yes, you can. So if you're self-hosting your online store, yes, it's very easy to just create a subdirectory, install WordPress there, and you're ready to go. That's actually exactly how we do it with our online store. If you are on Shopify or BigCommerce, I think if you want to use a WordPress blog, you actually have to create a new subdomain. Another question is, do you have a recommended frequency for sending out email blasts? So personally, it really depends, but whatever you choose, you have to be consistent about it. So if you blast once a week, make sure you consistently blast once a week. What you shouldn't be doing is you shouldn't blast out a flurry of emails, stop for like 2 or 3 months, and then send out an email. In general, readers like consistency with your list. Okay, and so really your frequency should just be something that you're kind of comfortable with. I kind of recommend for e-commerce probably no more than, at most once a week. We kind of do it, once every 3 weeks or so. Okay, another question is, do you create different content pieces for the newsletter, blog posts, and e-zine articles, and what is a good schedule each week? Okay, so the newsletter and the blog post are kind of the same. So we'll post and publish a blog post, and then we'll create an email. I'll write a little blurb about what the blog post is all about, and then send it out with a link to the existing customer list so that they know that a new blog post is available. And more often than not, they'll actually click on the link, check out the blog post, and a lot of times they'll go on and start browsing the store as well. Okay. And once again, the schedule is up to you. All right, great. I apologize today. I actually have to leave early. So, if there's no more questions, I would prefer to wrap this up a little bit early today. And, I'll be answering your questions over email and that sort of thing. Yeah, okay, so what's the percentage of repeat customers? Okay, so I'll give you just an example, and it kind of varies each time that we blast it out. But we just sent out an email blast, I think it was Tuesday, and let's see, what was it? I think, yeah, it was on Tuesday. It was the Hanky Pendant Craft, and I think something like 9.5% of the people who actually came on the site made a purchase. So when we sent out a blast, our open rates are typically in the order of 20 to 30%. So 30% of those people who got the email came to our site, and almost 10%, between 9 and 10% of those people actually ended up making a purchase. Okay, and it really varies. It depends on what time of year and that sort of thing, but expect, a percentage of these customers to make a purchase. Okay, and so yeah, I will get back to you about your niche. It's on my list. I just haven't had a chance. But Market Samurai was down for me last week, and I think it's working now. So I'll definitely have a response to you this week.